Hello, my love, and welcome to Anxious Alchemy. I'm so excited to talk to you about this today because I see it a little differently. All right, we're going to be talking about the curse of the visionary and how anxiety is actually your superpower. You're just using it wrong. I know, an audacious claim, a bold statement, and I've seen it work over and over and over again, not just for myself, but for so many women who hold positions of power, who are in leadership positions, who are in positions of authority, business owners who need to overcome the mind fuck that is anxiety. Okay. First and foremost, though, I'm going to give you a little caveat at the beginning of this video. It's very important that you understand this. If you do not currently believe that you possess the power within you right now in this moment to overcome anxiety, turn this off. Come back to it when you're ready to accept full responsibility or ability to respond. And you are willing to feel and hold the magnitude of your power to change both your inner worlds and your outer worlds. If you hear this and you're triggered and you have the stories and you say, Dawn, it's chemical. Dawn, I need my medicine. Dawn, my therapist said. Dawn, I've had alchemy. I've had anxiety since I was 12 years old. It's never going away. Cool. This won't work for you. So often in my one-to-ones, in my VIPs, I hold the medicine. I say, right here's the medicine. All you have to do is release your favorite brand of suffering and take it. And you would be so floored at the number of women who say no. And then they go back and they rewatch their sessions with me and they see how very attached, identified with their suffering they were. And they're like, oh my God, she was literally giving me an out and I wouldn't take it. And listen, that's okay. I want you to know you get to suffer for as long as you want to. And I don't say that sarcastically. I mean that genuinely. We really love suffering. As humans, like, we love suffering. We have favorite brands of suffering. We have existential kinks we haven't even uncovered yet. Okay, there's lots of reasons why we love to play small. We love to play the victim. We love to assign these labels and identify with these prescribed, what's the word I want here, when you're diagnosis, there it is, right? We love to identify with them. And if you're in that space right now, I love you. I see you. You are no less limited. You are no less limitless than anyone else. You are not more limited than anybody else. And it's okay for you to walk that path for as long as you possibly want. Okay? As long as it stays with you, that desire to walk that path of limitation, of scarcity, of contraction, of fear, of labeling, of diagnosis, you get to walk it. Permission granted. I love you. Come back to this later. Now, for those of you who are ripping and roaring and ready to go, for those of you who are like, no, fuck that, I'm taking my power back. Anxiety has no power over me. Show me the goods. I'm here for the medicine. You're in for a treat today. All right. So as I said in the beginning, my name is Dawn. I've been supporting women in business leadership in the deep work since 2012. My initial enlightenment, my initial awakening happened in 2012. I held that blissful, super beautiful state for about 3 months. And then I went back to corporate America. And the cracks of the psyche started to seep back in, and I started to really struggle mentally and emotionally once more. I dove into study of the occult and the esoteric, attempting to find my way back to enlightenment. And it was many years later that I was successful in that endeavor. And it wasn't actually until I let it go that it came to me. Funny how that works, yeah? Anyway, after the birth of my daughter, I dealt with severe postpartum depression, severe postpartum anxiety. Many years later, she was probably about 3, maybe she was 2. I was diagnosed as bipolar. And so I say all of that to tell you, I am no stranger to mental turmoil. Okay, I don't want you to think that you're talking to somebody who's never dealt with anxiety, or that you're talking to somebody who's just like, I've always lived like a super kosher life and I'm trying to tell you. No, I can walk with you because I've walked through suffering. I can walk with you because I've been in the shit and I've successfully gotten myself out, and I have successfully gotten other people out of the shit. Okay, so if right now you're in the shit, I promise that you're in good hands. Now, you're likely here because you're a visionary. And I say that as a pretty broad term because most people with anxiety are visionaries. I would be willing to bet 100% of them, but to be like generous, let's say 99% of them are visionaries. How do I know this? because I work with archetypes. I channel and I teach archetypes. Understanding the language of the archetypes is one of the highest levels of consciousness you can reach on the second plane. And what do archetypes have to do with anxiety? What does alchemy have to do with anxiety? Everything, I promise you. Because the archetype of the visionary, the entrepreneur, the go-getter, the leader, the imaginative force within you that can see planes of existence that don't currently exist, that same force within you is anxiety. Yes. Your superpower is oftentimes your Achilles heel. And for people who live in their brains, for women and men who are decapitated and they live from the neck up, anxiety is a big struggle because we are so used to wielding our power for destruction as opposed to wielding it for creation. And today I'm going to tell you all about anxiety in its energetic form, what it truly is, and how to start utilizing your brilliance, your superpower to create in your world instead of to destroy in your world. And you're going to walk away with tools and with a radical sense of liberation that hopefully you'll be able to go on and take to other people and share with others, okay? Because so many of us deal with these things. And steal my medicine. That's the other thing. Steal my medicine. Repackage this, sell it to your audience. Tell all your friends. I want everybody to have access to these tools, okay? Now, we're going to take charge of our mind today. This is number one. Number one. We're going to talk about the sovereign. We're going to talk about the victim. We're going to talk about the child. We're going to talk about these archetypes that keep us from taking full ownership over our dominion, over our kingdom, and some of the ways that that's really hindering us. I have a hair in my eye. Got it? But first, let's talk about what anxiety is. Okay? Anxiety, first and foremost, is a resistance to the present moment. It's a resistance to the present moment. It oftentimes stems, we like to think that it's in the brain, and yes to that, but it also, the brain and the gut are very deeply tied, and so it's also connected to the gut, and we'll talk about that as well, but it's a resistance to the present moment. And I want you to know that, like, in your present moment, if you're like, yeah, but Dawn, I have reasons to be anxious because terrible shit happens to me, you have to understand, and Golden, my program, Golden, the full program, does a really great job of breaking this down in its entirety, okay? But just to give it to you, like 1-2 punch right here, the life force that creates galaxies is flowing through you right now. Do you understand the magnitude, the power within your cells right now? The organizing principle that directs the sun in such a way that it is perfectly distanced so that we can actually have life here. That same organizing principle that keeps Mars from smashing into Earth on its way by. The same organizing principle that keeps your heart beating without you having to consciously think about it. That organizing force exists. It dwells within you right now. And it knows the way. Infinite cosmic intelligence. Where we get stuck is that we resist the flow of infinite cosmic intelligence. This drains your life force, your energy, your inner key. It drains the energy from the body, from the brain, and it leaves you feeling depleted and exhausted. And it won't just be for business. You won't just be burnt out from business. You'll be burnt out from life. Okay? This comes from a lack of inner chi, and it's not because you don't have enough. It's because you're restricting the flow. It's like when you put a kink in a hose. The natural state is that the water's flowing, you kink the hose, and that pressure builds, right? And you get no water. Same thing's happening to you. You are the flow of infinite cosmic intelligence. You have the power of that has organized entire solar systems within you, and you're kinking the hose, okay? I heard once how beautiful is we don't create negative outcomes, we resist positive outcomes. The river flows regardless. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink type of scenario. Like you can go out into nature and see that she is always providing and that we have cut ourselves off from that natural force. This is going to get into the belly, into the solar plexus, that your beautiful, what I want to say, like your navel, your tree of life, your attachment, your center, your control center, your willpower. We'll talk about all that, okay? But for now, know that anxiety is the resistance to the present moment. And the present moment is full of fucking miracles, full of fucking opportunities, full of really cool shit for you to do. Life wants to live through you. You are not living life. Life is living you. And that you've kinked the hose. And so what are we doing when we're in anxiety? We are siphoning energy to the future or to the past. Do you have any power? Can you change the past? Now you can impact the future. And oftentimes impacting the future is what changes the past. See, because we don't remember the event, we remember the last time we remembered the event. So if the last time we remembered the event was very emotionally charged and we were drunk and we were like way up in arms, then this time when we remember it, it carries an even more toxic trait, an even more toxic signature than it did the last time we remembered it, okay? And so I want you to know that anxiety, being a resistance to the present moment, is siphoning energy, constantly trying to control the outcomes of the future, which you can't actually control anyway. You can influence, but to what degree? Comet hits the earth, you have no control here. How much control do you actually have, right? And anxiety oftentimes is playing out these scenarios that don't ever happen. This is the fear self. You have a fear self. You have a self that is terrified of everything. Okay, 10 out of 10 recommend The Untethered Soul or The Surrender Experiment, both by Michael Singer, great books, okay? So anxiety is this out of control imagination, and it's constantly trying to solve future problems that it likely doesn't have yet. I can't tell you how often I work with business owners who are trying to solve problems they don't have. They're like, I need to get my first 2 clients for my new business and I'm so excited, or I need to raise my prices for my current clients and I'm so excited. But also I need to scale in such a way that when I'm a multi-million-dollar business owner, these roadblocks don't occur. Do you think it's a wise use of our energy to be solving for problems we don't have? How do we know that we'll ever even have those problems? You see what I'm saying? So when we're in the present moment, we can see with blaring clarity, we can actually affect the situation by being intensely present, by housing all of our power of awareness, of consciousness in a current moment. And so our imagination is worshiping the worst case scenario, or it's in regret and guilt and shame of shit that happened in the past. Neither one of those serve us, because you can't actually go back there, and you certainly can't go there. And so if you come to right here, we have all the power in the world. And the imagination first is born in the belly, in that gut chakra, okay? And when we are disconnected from the gut chakra, when the gut chakra, for example, I've been sucking my belly in since I was about 6 years old. Most women have this. My grandma told me when I was very young, 6-ish, you suck your belly in to look good in church, right? You suck it in. And so most of us as women, because of, body shaming and all the things, we've been walking around sucking it in since we were little girls. The problem with that is that this causes something called hourglass syndrome. It causes low back pain. It causes weak pelvic floor. It destroys, you can heal them, but it really wrecks your abdomen muscles, all the muscles in your abs. It causes neck and shoulder pain, jaw pain, because your hips are all out of alignment. Okay, all because you're sucking it in. Now, what does sucking it in have to do with anxiety? Imagination is born in the core. The seat of identity, so your ego, your identity, your id entity, the seat of your willpower, so your ability to fucking do it, you know what I mean? Like fucking go for it. All that, those fires, they live in the alchemical vessel of the belly, of the tummy, of your tum-tum. And if you're constantly sucking it in, contraction is fear, that's kinking the hose. Expansion is your natural state. The universe is constantly expanding. If we're contracting, we're kinking the hose, something terrible happens. First in the body, yes, but also we're constantly trying to control our soul. It's called your solar plexus. That's not by mistake. It is the sun, the soul, S-O-L, S-O-U-L. It is your soul. It is a spiritual source that connects you to reality, that connects you to your community. So oftentimes when we're anxious because we're stuck in the head, we're living in the head, we're drawing up, we're holding tension unconsciously in the stomach. We're also struggling to ask for help. We're perfectionists. We need a thing to be perfect before we release it. And because perfect doesn't exist, we never release it. We need to be ready before we move. And because ready is a decision and not a feeling, we never move. We can't become great leaders because we're trying to control everything. We can't lead in coaching containers because we're hyper fixated on the results that our clients will get. We're trying to control the outcomes. We're constantly trying to control outcomes in a future that we have no power in, or rearrange outcomes in the past to better suit the identity we want to carry. Neither of those are our true power center. Imagination out of control is anxiety, and it is siphoning your energy from the present to the future, or from your present to the past, and it is pulling all of its resources to attempt to control that which should naturally flow once it's relaxed. And so you can actually practice, I'll give you this one now, you can actually practice breathing into your belly, making your tum-tum fat as possible. And when you exhale, maybe just leave it out. If you've been sucking it in for a long time, I want you to just leave it out. I want you to just expand your belly as often as you possibly can, because that's going to help you hold more energy in your will center, in your ego center, in your imagination identity center, okay? Now, this also causes like IBS. It can cause like digestive issues. It can cause like colon problems. And so there's so many things this wrecks, right? So now, you have to understand that the power of the visionary is to see futures that don't yet exist. Yeah? Leaders, the power of the leader is to move people, inspire people. Inspire means in breath or in spirit. The word spirit and the word breath come from the same root word. To new heights. We inspire them to a future that doesn't currently exist. I see the way. That's the gift of the visionary. You can see how the other side of that coin is imagining realities that don't currently exist and being terrified of them, trying to control them, right? Anxiety is the visionary force, inverted, doubled back on itself. I always like to tell people that whatever capacity your saboteur, your inner sabotager, however great he is in your brain, that means he has like a really strong hold on you, is equal to the amount of power that you have as a magician to create and birth new worlds, new realities. They're equal. And you can exercise them. Okay, you can increase your auric field, increase your magnitude to an extent that you can really start to impact just via the auric field your reality and the people who interact with you. People come into your auric field and they feel safe and they feel welcome and they feel ooey and they feel gooey because you're safe and comfortable in your body, because you're confident, you're self-assured, and now they can feel that without you ever having to say a word. They feel at home in your energy field. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about how habits are formed and how they become beliefs, because most of us that are here at some point we believe that we have anxiety. Excuse me just one second. Okay, we're back. Had to blow my nose there. So how are habits formed and how do they become beliefs? First of all, it starts with repetition of thought. At some point, my grandma said, suck it in. And I started doing that once. I did it twice. I did it 3 times. I did it 4 times. I did it repetitively until now. I'm 33 and I'm doing meditation last night. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm holding an immense amount of tension in my belly. That's how, boom, that's how thoughts become beliefs, okay? Beliefs are simply thoughts that are repeated over and over and over again. Okay, when you charge a thought with an emotion, it has momentum in the astral planes, in the metaphysical, in the unseen realms, okay? And you might be like, Dawn, that's a little too woo-woo for me. That's fine. Study quantum physics, okay? Study torus fields, understand the magnetic field of the body that stems from the heart, and then come back to me, okay? Because there's nothing woo-woo about that. You have an energetic field. It is your responsibility to take responsibility for ownership of your energetic field and all the information that you are pouring into it. Because make no mistake, the information that you hold as true becomes information outside of you. All right. That's why they say your world is a mirror to you, right? Your perspective shapes your reality. Your personality impacts your personal reality. That's Joe Dispenza. Okay. So how habits are formed: repetition of thought and of action. When we pair thought and feeling and action, this becomes who you are. Who you are then is how you see the world. In Golden, we teach be, do, have. So it's not the other way around. A lot of people are waiting to have before they'll do so that they can be. And that's not how it works. This is the formula inverted on itself. Have, do, be is anxiety. Be, do, have is visionary. So we be that which we want, which informs what we do each day, which then informs what we have each day. Be, do, have. Okay. When we're in anxiety, we're focused on what we don't have, because that comes first. We have to have it first. And since we don't have it, we live in a fictitious reality where we don't have it. And we're hyper focused on what we don't have. And since we don't have it, then we act like we don't have it. And we throw little pity parties and we get stuck in our brains and we worry constantly about outcomes we can't control or decisions that we've made in the past and how those will impact us in the future. And so now we're doing and being, and we're doing and not having, and now we're being a version of us that doesn't have what we want and can't do what we want because we're a victim to our reality, a victim to our circumstances. And this entire narrative is entirely fucking false. It's a victim mentality. Okay, this is why people call my work better than therapy, though, because if you came to me and you laid down on my couch and you said to me, I have anxiety, I would prescribe you some medication and tell you to feel your feelings. I would ask you, when did it start? Right? Oh, how did that come about? Oh, your mom, of course. And then you would leave my office and you would feel somewhat empowered because now you know it's your fucking mom's fault. You have anxiety. But you're not truly empowered, are you? Because you still have anxiety. And you're even less empowered, actually, because now you have anxiety and it's somebody else's fault. So the chances of you taking radical responsibility, radical ownership of your mental are slim to none, aren't they? We're going to talk about the victim and the sovereign. Okay? I also want to say that this is the reason why your anxious thoughts feel so real. They feel so real because, one, they're happening in the belly. The belly and the brain are talking about what you don't have and who you can't be and what you can't do and all the things that you're trying to control. And so you have visceral reactions. The goal is to stop it before it gets in motion. It's harder to stop it once it's in motion. It's not impossible, but it's harder to stop it once it's in motion, once you have an anxiety ball rolling, right? But if you can start to create awareness between you and your anxiety, some distance between you and that label that we're no longer associating with, we start to resume power over our lives, okay? We put the king back on the throne. Let's talk about the sovereign and let's talk about the victim. The sovereign is the king. Radical responsibility, radical ownership, radical self-power. This person is a fucking leader, is a fucking visionary, and goes after what they want relentlessly. They are in line with their desires, with their passions, with their purpose, with their pleasure, and they move from a space that inspires others, all right? Radical ownership, radical responsibility the sovereign takes. The sovereign is the king of his dominion, of her dominion, and she sits on the throne. If you still believe that you're a victim to your mind, then you are. And the mind makes a shit servant. It makes an incredible master. No, the mind is a shit master. It makes an incredible servant, but it's a shit master. And when I say servant, I mean your mind is a tool. You are basically, when you're in anxiety, allowing your body, your brain, your mind to override your consciousness. That's like picking up a calculator in an external world and saying, this owns me. This tiny computer owns me. Some of us do that. We call it a phone, don't we? This owns me. This runs me. That's not true. You run you to whatever degree you are willing to assume responsibility for the creation of your life and of your inner reality. Consciousness is not the mind. Consciousness, the witness, is behind the mind. If you don't know what I'm talking about, join Golden, because we do this work in depth and I help you create massive distance between your emotional field and your mental field and who you truly are, which is consciousness awareness. So in this practice, we put the king back on the throne. I'm the master of my mind. My mind does not master me. Okay. And we are willing to practice that. I can, I will, no matter what, no matter how long it takes, I will do this. Okay. That's what we want. I can, I will, no matter what, no matter how long it takes. That's all you have to have. And you're going to fail today and you do it again tomorrow. And you're going to fail tomorrow and you do it again the next day. This is a practice. All of these medicines are practice. And there's no quick fix. There's no shortcut. It's you assuming responsibility over and over and over again when it's uncomfortable and when you feel like you shouldn't, especially when you feel like you shouldn't. When you're like, no, I'm triggered because this other person. How can we bring that back home? Okay. And if you're like, Dawn, that's radical. Yeah. Excuse me, it'll change your fucking life. Okay. The victim is mastered by their mind. The victim's mastered by their mind. And so the victim is a slave to whatever the mind says, which means, and your mind is always, it's going in a million different directions. I mean, think about it right now. Like, think about like your brain. It's like always fucking talking. It's always fucking talking. And it's talking in circles. Right? It's so funny. It's your brain. You know that's talking. And it says, we should go have Starbucks this morning. And the same fucking brain goes, nah, we had Starbucks yesterday. It kind of made our belly upset. And the same brain goes, yeah, but that's because we had tomato sauce. We know better. And then the same brain goes, that tomato sauce, and we should have some pizza again. And the same brain goes, no, it hurts your belly. Stop that. And the same brain goes, you know what? I'm going to have pizza for lunch. Can you imagine if you heard this outside of you? A friend was like talking to themselves this, you would tell them that they should go get help. You're identified with this monkey mind and it's not you. All right. The victim is identified with the monkey mind. I am my mind. No, you're not. No, you're not. Okay. So how do we change our perspective? How do we move into this space where we are reality shifting? The first thing is that you have to understand that the sovereign is the reality proof generating machine. The sovereign is generating reality and it's generating proof. The sovereign is generating proof. So whatever it is that you're looking for, you will find. Seek and ye shall find was not just if you have positive thoughts, because again, we don't create negative outcomes, but we resist positive ones. And that's a perspective flip. If I'm constantly on the lookout for abuse, if I'm constantly on the lookout for manipulation, if I'm on the lookout for scarcity, for reasons to be, the economy, this, then we're constantly blaming our lives on all these external circumstances. And it's okay because it gives us grace. We can just be powerless. And you'll fit in because 99% of the world is doing that. And so you'll never ruffle any feathers. No one ever criticizes a cynic. If you're just a negative Nelly and your life is falling the fuck apart, the whole world will agree with you. You'll be like, the war, the economy, the president, my mental health, my job, and the whole world will go, me too, me too, me too. And congratulations, you're now part of the 99.999% of unconscious people on the planet who like to play the victim. If that's your game, play it, and I honor you. Come back to this when you're ready to play sovereignty, though, because that's an entirely different game. Saboteur and sovereign work together. The saboteur and the magician, the sovereign, the magician, you can watch my shadow illumination series on Alchemy and you'll understand more about these archetypes. But for now, just understand that there are light side archetypes and there are shadow side archetypes, and that they're two sides of the same coin. In the same way that grief is love, right? Why do you love a thing? Because of its impermanence. You love your children because how old they are today is never how old they are again. You love your children because you know one day this is over, right? You love your parents because you know one day this is over. Right? We love things because we grieve them. And when we grieve, what is grief? Love. Right? Two sides of the same coin. Okay? Same way here. Saboteur and the magician, sovereign, create reality and they create proof. And so does that mean that like Dawn, I can do this work and now Trump's not president? No, that's not what that means. But it does mean that you can go from being absolutely obsessed with every move that man makes, outsourcing your power, feeling powerless, feeling just, everything is terrible, attacked all the time, to power, which is doing what you can do, which is controlling what you can control, which is focusing and harnessing all of your energy into a future that people can't yet see. Do you think that someone fighting the man is more powerful when they're playing the victim or when they're playing the sovereign? So the saboteur is the self-sabotaging mechanism. It's your fear self. Don't do that. That's scary. Oh, you said you were going to work out today? Start tomorrow. That's your saboteur. And your capacity for sabotage is your capacity for magic. Okay? And so you have to understand that sovereignty creates proof in the field by seeking it out. This is called your reticular activating system. And your reticular activating system, this is why in The Secret, manifest a blue butterfly. And people are like, it really works. The blue butterfly was always there, but now you're looking for it. That's because your reticular activating system has been turned on and it's looking for solutions. The same thing happens when you decide that you want a Toyota Corolla. You never noticed that every car on the highway is a Toyota Corolla until you wanted one, and now it's everywhere. Your reticular activating system clicks on, it looks for solutions. This is also your problem solver. You want to make $1 million in your business, and you start really holding that belief and that knowing that it is coming to you and that you are going to figure it out. The book Think and Grow Rich covers this beautifully. You start pulling all your energy back to center of what it is that you desire to make change in your community, to impact women's lives, to have $1 million business, to coach executives, like whatever it is, right? You pull it into your center. Now your reticular activating system is looking for solutions for that. Your subconscious is trying to solve for that problem. That's how we generate proof, through the mind. Okay. Now, it's also how we create problems or we create solutions. Which one are you focused on? I have a note here to talk to you about the Watcher. And I'm going to cover it, but just know that in Golden, we do this work on such a deep level that there's no way I could give it to you here with the amount of depth and clarity that it really deserves. Okay. The Watcher is your consciousness, and it exists behind the mind, behind the body. Actually, it exists back here in outside of your peripheral, right? And the Watcher never changes. You look in the mirror at 6 years old. Who looks in the mirror? Right? It's funny because your body ages, your face, you look in the mirror at 33, it doesn't look the way it did when it was 6. But the consciousness, the awareness that's watching doesn't change. You can change mental attitudes. You can reprogram to have a more positive outlook on life. But the Watcher remains the same. It's this still place in you, this wellspring of life force energy that is untainted by the world. And you can identify with that as opposed to identifying with the monkey mind. And when you move into the space of the Watcher, I want you to know it has 2 roles, and that is to amplify what we're giving attention to through focus. So focus or attention, whatever you focus the attention of the Watcher on amplifies. Now, most of us are spending all of our time focusing the attention of the Watcher on the mind. And that's why the mind feels fucking huge, because it amplifies whatever it's watching. What's available to you is to draw back your attention from the mind and watch it like clouds passing in the sky. Your mind is objective. If I said to you, are you this coffee or are you this pen? And you would say to me, I'm neither. I would say it's a very nice pen. It's a tool pen, 0.7. I love it so much. Great pen. I love their markers. And this is a great coffee. I got this from a local coffee truck here in Brevard. It's called a Bee Sting Honey Cinnamon. It's so yummy. These are amazing. They're wonderful. Which one are you? And you would still say, Dawn, I appreciate that they're great. I'm still neither of those things. You're also not your mind. Your mind is the object, not the subject. Your emotional body is the object, not the subject. When you can identify with something behind the mental chatter and something behind the emotional turmoil, the ocean, the energy and motion running through your body, now we're getting free. Which also you have getting free. We talk about emotional alchemy through the heart center. You can also digest emotions through the belly. I do want to give that caveat that like your belly and your heart oftentimes in the metaphysical, they do very similar things. We can alchemize emotion and digest emotion through both the heart and the gut chakra. Okay, so join Golden to get the full spiel on the Watcher and on more on how to embody it, because that's really how we get free. Radical responsibility and resilience. I will, no matter what, no matter when. Resilience. You're not going to cure your anxiety tonight. That's not my promise to you. You're not going to get free in one day. And if you do, my enlightenment was sudden in 2012. And I held that for a beautiful 2-3 months before it all fucking caved in. And that's the journey. Okay, the journey is never finished. Trevor Hall says we forget and remember, and we forget again. And that's the way, okay? But for now, I want you taking radical responsibility, which is the ability to respond. I want you to be able to respond to your mental state and your emotional state as opposed to reacting emotional states or mental states that no longer serve you. And I do mean reacting, like acting again on that same pattern. Okay, radical responsibility is when we move away from reacting a scenario to instead responding to that scenario and saying, you know what, I want to, and this happens, this is the number one thing I get with clients when we work one-to-one, is they start to create this distance. And what happens initially is that they come in, they're very triggered, they're overwhelmed, they're anxious, they're fearful, they want to start new things, they have a million ideas and no clarity, like all the things. And they're like, Dawn, you know, I really want da 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 and da 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 da, and I don't have any clarity. And the first thing we do is we get a little bit of distance between them and the mind, a little bit of distance between, I get them into the awareness, into the Watcher. And what happens is they find themselves reacting. They get off the call with me, they find themselves reacting to their husband, to their kids, to a scenario. And while they're reacting, it's like they're watching themselves like they're in a movie. And they're like, that's weird. And all of a sudden they can see the reaction happening. They can see that they're spitting the venom and they're saying unkind things and that they're probably part of the problem and rah. But they're watching it unfold. They're not changing anything yet. They're just watching like they're in a movie. They're watching themselves like they're in a movie. And then eventually they come to a place where that Watcher, the distance between the Watcher and this faux identity, this very triggered, very, small, contracted ego, the distance starts to grow to a point where now they get into a spot and they're going to be spitting venom and spitting toxicity and they're going to be reacting an old pattern. And they go, I can choose again. And they stop. Mid-sentence. I've been in arguments with my husband early on in my days, and I would mid-sentence and I would see myself and I would go, this isn't who I want to be, and I stop. And I simply say, I'm sorry, you know what? That's not who I want to be. I was reacting. I'm conscious now and I'm choosing differently. And then eventually you get to a point where the triggers, the reactions, the anxious overspinning, they just stop. They stop occurring. Or on the rare case that they do occur, you have all the tools that you need to stop them. Okay? Replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts every time you notice them. This one's huge. If you're a negative Nelly, I've been a negative Nelly personally. I understand pessimism to my toes. Replace it with positive thoughts as often as you notice them. And so what this looks like when we're manifesting anything is that we stay in this vortex of high vibe energy and we'll get sucked out. So maybe you really want to create a business that impacts your community. And you've got all the things together, you're planning, you're doing the things, and you hit a hurdle where you can feel it in your body. You know that this success is yours. You're so excited for what you're going to do for your community. And then a roadblock appears and you get real down and out. or it's not coming in as fast as you want. So what's wrong with me, right? Like we get into this space of like self-deprecation, like it must be me, I must be the problem, da 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 da, right? When that happens, I want you to immediately, as soon as you notice it, I want you to flip it with no, it's working. Let me look for proof that it's working. Actually, let me go put my nose to the grindstone to distract myself from these negative thoughts. It's said that the sages of old would walk around and cling bells, symbols, little thumb symbols or like bells to distract themselves from the monkey mind, okay? And it's available to you to do the same thing with positive reinforcement, positive thought, because the proof generator, it's looking for whatever we are amplifying our focus on. So if we're focused on the negative, we're going to get more and more and more of that. We're going to be able to, we see it everywhere, even when it's not occurring. We meet people and immediately think that they're manipulative or immediately think that they're out to get us. When that's not occurring, it's just an anxious thought pattern that's built up. Okay, we're preparing for the worst case scenario. Remember this always, guys. You don't get what you want, you get what you prepare for, you get what you expect. Okay, and so that old saying that's like, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, you will always get the worst. If you're prepared for the worst will fucking happen. So prepare for the fucking best. All right, and so switch out negative thoughts with positive thoughts every time you have. And in Golden, I do a lot more breakdown of like, what happens if that, like, it's, you have too much momentum built up in that direction of that like negative thought form, and I teach you how to like reallocate energetic investment to another place where you have a higher return on investment. Okay, and but we do all that work in Golden. So when you notice the negative thoughts, you simply override them. You give them no energy. That's the other thing too, is that, right, energy goes where attention flows. We know that the watcher gives attention to something and it amplifies it or makes it bigger. Energy goes there. We give that life force energy. We also want to stop claiming anxiety and glorifying it as preparedness. We are what we prepare for, even if it's our perspective overlaying on a situation. And I sort of covered that one early there, but when we stop claiming anxiety, that's the other thing. You got to stop claiming the label. If you keep telling, if you get enough distance that you can tell the story that I had anxiety, okay, go for it, right? But if right now you identify as an anxious person, I want you to put that label down. I want you to stop telling people that you have anxiety. I want you to stop telling yourself that you have anxiety. And if you're like, Dawn, isn't that spiritual bypassing? No, there's no fucking such thing. You can't spiritually bypass. You can't bypass infinite intelligence. Do you know what I mean? No, you're not spiritually bypassing by not claiming a story. The same is true for anything else. If you claim the story that you're always broke, if you claim a story that you can't get clients, if you claim a story that you're stuck at this job, or you're stuck in this business, or you're stuck in this marriage, then that's what you'll get. How the stories that we tell fucking matter. And so replace them with stories that you want to be telling. Do you want to tell the story that you're anxious? And I had a client that told this story in a very glorified way, in that like it helps me be prepared. And it doesn't help you be prepared. I've had clients that prepared, their preppers, you know, doomsday preppers, and they like store all their things in their basement and all the things. And then Hurricane Helene came through my hometown. It ripped everything to shreds. And we, my family, we were not prepared for that. And we did great. It was great. We did fine. It wasn't great. It was a terrible fucking time. But I like bounced back, grieved. Everything was good. That client, who's no longer a client of mine, I lost her in the Trump debacle, unfortunately. She was prepared, immensely prepared, had the generator, had the Faraday cages for the doomsday stuff, had the canned beans, like she had it all. And she is still stuck in that trauma. She's re-traumatizing herself. She's in constant fear. She's constantly going to light workers to have curses removed from people. She needs people. People must be cursing me. Please help me remove this curse. Constant fear she lives in. Well, you can see why obviously we're not a good fit. We're obviously not a good match. And that's okay. She wants to live a life where she is victim to her circumstances. She wants to live a life where she prepares for the worst. She wants to live a life where she's dependent on external light workers to heal her. And that's her path, okay? Is it your path? Is it your path? Because she was prepared. And you would think that it was her hometown that got ripped apart. She's not from here, right? I watched shit from my childhood wash down the river. People that I love, okay, in horrible circumstances. And still we rise, okay? I wasn't prepared for the worst because I don't make preparation for shit I don't want. I prepare for the best and I expect the fucking best, and so I get the fucking best. You see what I'm saying? All right. So stop claiming anxiety. The stories that we claim absolutely matter. Be mindful of what you're preparing for. Okay, opening the heart and the belly and digesting emotions properly. I told you how to open the belly. So and in Golden, we talk a lot about opening the heart. And in Emotional Alchemy, you can watch that one, and I do a deep dive into how to open the heart. Opening the belly is the same way. We just deep breathe into it. We push our belly buttons out. We feel that expansive energy in the belly. We hold that expansion in the belly for as long as we possibly can, and we breathe into it, and we allow emotion to properly digest, as well as food. This helps your food digest too. All right, so we open the belly center to properly digest emotions so they don't get stuck. If you've watched the other video on Emotional Alchemy, emotions get stuck in the heart or in the belly, and then we become emotionally constipated, which also means every single time something triggers a response from us, we're not responding, we are reacting the trigger, the emotional storage. So you're emotionally constipated, and then every time somebody says something or does something that's minorly inconveniencing you or lands on a trigger of insecurity or whatever it is, you're then slinging constipated emotional shit out into the world. Do you know what I mean? All right. So we want to open the heart, open the belly, digest emotions properly, dive into Golden. If I haven't said that already, it'll help you do all this work. And the next thing is meditation and visualization to exercise power over the mind. And I know a lot of people get messed up with meditation. They say, I'm not very good at meditating. I can't silence the mind. Of course you can. It takes years to get to that place. Okay, we don't need you to silence the mind immediately. Enlightenment can happen immediately, and then your mind is silent. That's glorious. Usually, though, most people, we have to work for it, okay? And so it's just like you wouldn't, go to the gym and expect to be able to squat 200 pounds off gate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to do some squats. You got to work up to 200 pounds. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, it's a muscle, just like anything else. Exercising being identified with the witness as opposed to being identified with the thoughts. Exercising being the king on the throne instead of being mastered by the mind. These things take practice. So start with visualizing things that make you feel fucking delicious. You can do this in the Emotional Alchemy series, and of course in Golden. This is the whole thing in Golden, was the golden thread of desire and where it's leading us in life, okay? But I want you to visualize what it is that you want. Whatever it is, get as big as you possibly can, as in detail as you possibly can. Let yourself feel all the feels. Don't stop it and say, how is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? Just focus on what you want, why you want it, how epic it could possibly be. And when you're doing this, what you're doing is consciously directing the flow of thoughts, which just helps you remember that you're in charge here. And then eventually, I want you to get into a space of meditation where you're not consciously directing thought, you're simply watching them unattached to them. So they're passing clouds. You're just watching them and they just come and go. You see what I'm saying? This is big work, guys. This is how we get out of the story of anxiety and how we alchemize it so that we can start using the power of the visualizer for good, to lead, to inspire, to motivate people, to get them in purpose and passion and pleasure. This is how we create precision of focus, of mind, of mental resilience. And that's the purpose of this last video, and this one here is mental and emotional resilience. I want you in a space of resiliency where shit happens, it's going to knock you down and you get back up. Okay, I don't want to paint this as some perfect thing that you watch this video, you get off, you never have an anxious thought spiral again. False. You will have one, and guess what? When you do, it is a gift from the gods. It is a golden nectar being handed to you on a golden platter, and what's available for you is to take it and say, thank you for this work. I will exercise my ability to be sovereign over my mind, over my mental dominion. I will exercise my will here and here, belly and brain, to create a world that I can't see yet, that benefits me and others, as opposed to creating a world I can't see yet, where I'm preparing for worst case scenario, where I'm worshiping the worst case scenario, and thus magnetizing it, drawing it to me. Okay? This is what's available to you. I love you so much. And don't forget that you're fucking limitless.